Case.
Hello. Yeah, I can hear. Great to be here. First of all, I want to thank people who invited me here and of course the organizers of this conference. And it's really nice to share all those ideas and to present a project that has many awards. And one thing I really want to highlight is that apart from like winning all the best real-world blockchain application, which is I think highest in this period to have this kind of title, but we began for the past several months winning the awards within the industry where we are. It's inside, like we're in the automotive industry, and we won one of the innovation awards at largest German automakers fair, and now we're nominated among the largest industry players, such as alongside with Mainheim, BCA, Autorola. They're like 40, 60 years old companies in the industry, selling their solutions and having a network of automotive remarketeers and dealerships. And our company, just 1 year old, being along with them nominated for such award and prizes. That means that we're more or less into a right path. What I want to talk about that first time everyone when we heard about blockchain, and I was like a latecomer in 2015, I thought like next day I'm gonna wake up, the world's gonna wake up in a completely new blockchainized world and everything's gonna go so fast and smoothly that it's gonna revolutionize every corner of the room. But it's been like, I don't know, hundreds of days and years, we're still waiting, but there's so many few use cases of real world use. And that's because I think that there is the preliminary problems that are associated with the hype and the technology understanding that creates a kind of a bubble. And these bubbles are around even on the large corporation level, in the minds of startuppers, because first thing that happens is that this bubble isolates those companies and ideas from the real world. And we, as users and the people who just are familiar with this technology, we consider ourselves as representatives of some kind of parallel universe with different people, different markets, and that actually creates this shady understanding, and that's why we don't see the real tangible things working in the real world. I'll be like more improvised on the presentation by presenting our use case. I will walk you through the stages that are neglected by startups, and that's why we don't see their applications in real world. First of all, when we heard about blockchain and started even building the decentralized auction protocol, we thought that we were building for the entire global scale. We saw like, man, we're gonna auction like everything there is, starting from paintings to houses to state properties all together. And that was wrong. That's like number one mistake you can make with any startup, and especially with small resources, to spread and like build an infrastructure technology on a global scale. So having us, Shelf Network, after many years of iteration, a focus for the used cars gave us a much wider potential to explore and position ourselves on the market. So we understood that there's a huge market, vehicle markets, especially with auctions, around 20 million cars auctioned around the world, and we could first of all test out our hypothesis and technology on it. So market focus was the first step that we decided into moving into a real world. Another one is that apart from understanding that there's a market, we should understand that blockchains are, as mentioned beforehand, they're like for network effects. So if you don't have kind of a network effect at this stage, even on a small fraction of it, making a kind of a risk that blockchain is going to create this huge network effect or new market out of nothing does not really make sense. So with the cars, we understood that this cross-border nature of trades from one country to another, from Western Europe to Eastern European countries, from US to Eastern Europe, from Africa to Asia, these patterns already existed. So blockchain as an enabler could enhance already existing kind of patterns of cross-border dealing. And most notable thing that none of the blockchain startups or blockchain world entrepreneurs or enthusiasts or whatever the titles and the things are, they neglect is that there is no definition of problem. What problem they're solving with that solution? Yeah, the thing that it's like more secured, it's like transparent, you don't have to trust. They're kind of nice words, but on a market level, people and the final users don't really prioritize it as a value. So you should understand that by building that product, you should solve a specific problem for your client. And in our case, with the cars, we understood that in the industry, within an industry, there were two major problems. First of all, when you are a seller, a dealership with hundreds and thousands of cars, you currently are working with a standard online marketplace, I don't know, Mobility or some online resource that displays your cars. And every time you try to create this network effect and you try to reach more buyers to get higher prices, you need to duplicate every process of uploading cars, making payments, sorting out agreements with the new marketplaces, and even within your own country or even on a cross-border level. So duplication of processes and data was initial problem within the industry that we could solve. And another one major problem that appeared is that with today's limited siloed market, you had this limitation that you could not run the same car auction at two marketplaces at the same time and have a synchronized trade process between them. So this limitation created a fractured and non-effective network market that we could enhance with the blockchain. And that's when the blockchain came as an enabler and enhancer of the already existed kind of framework, but creating a more global and effective infrastructure. So what we understood that we could use this protocol, that's what blockchains are, right? Connectors of different independent players and the network participants, and build up a grid, kind of a trade protocol grid between every independent online car listing marketplace, and enable them to share the duplication of data of vehicles, processes, bids, deposits, everything, P2P, creating a kind of a synchronized liquidity among each participant. But first thing you need to do once you understand that there's a problem you could solve with the blockchain or any solution is to go to the market. We didn't go into ICOs, we didn't do any trade shows to raise money. We just dropped everything that took our focus away from the real world and the customers. And with limited resources, with limited time, and kind of being an outcast in a way during the ICO hypes, we went directly to the market. We approached the car listing marketplaces and offered them entire technology to be built from scratch. I'm here now because we've announced, and over the next coming months, one of the marketplaces that is also for the LT is going to be launched for the Lithuania that will run on our technology and will be part of this global used car auctioning infrastructure. And by the results of 3 months and working on different fields, understanding that there's a huge supply from US, there is a huge demand on the Eastern European marketplaces, we're already seeding around 50,000 cars every month. If you look from the perspective of all other blockchains that do all the transactions, I don't think there are so many real assets in any blockchain that exists today. And we don't use like fancy words like, you know, making a car listing, it's a smart contract enabled. No, it's a car, and these are the transactions within the network. Just plain words, nothing new. But by that, we've achieved that over the months of several weeks ago. Our technology, with positioning with the focus on the industry, got so widely talked and within the industry. I'm not talking about some crypto enthusiasts or some other evangelists and the religious groups. No, the auto industry players that we signed the biggest license agreement with the largest Japanese company, software company, to distribute our technology for the Southeast Asia among the already existing 11,000 dealers. Once we're finished with that, we're going to have more nodes and transactions than Bitcoin and Ethereum taken together, because it will be the focused real world use case. But it's not still enough. That's what we understood. Having a network and connecting all the players is just like 30% of the things done. For it to be accessible and people, regular users, to understand how to interact with that, you need more than technology. And that is the value. The value formation through your clients, in our case, through marketplaces, that attracts users and creates a value for them to switch from the current car listing marketplaces to a network-based car listing marketplaces. And we understood that to streamline the process, we needed more than just the distribution service of cars among marketplaces. We needed the value of supporting processes such as history reports of the cars, inspection reports, transportation, financing. If you took from Bits and Bits, these are like 4 different startups, raised 40 million, 60 million, 200 million on ICOs, but have no clue where to implement it and how to use it. But by each of this, in a 2 months' time, our network is already connected with the largest players such as Carfax, Car History. If somebody has ever bought a car from US, understand that these are like the monopoly with the Car History reports, and they're part of our network. There's the leasing companies, there's the local inspection companies, there's like transportation companies, and the entire process from the finding of the car to the delivery is streamlined in a single network that is distributed and runs on blockchain. And of course, the business model, there is no token, there is nothing hidden fees, but it's a standard business model as most of the platforms do, commission-based, and there's nothing to reinvent and go into that. But by the end, we should always focus and ask ourselves as startups, and then to what is the value we create for the networks? Not only like fast transactions, not the hidden kind of security stuff. Yeah, they have some value, but on a use case and regular users and client base, the values are in completely different places, where word blockchain does not mean anything for them on a reflective basis. And we are, by creating this network, starting from sellers, where we provide new sales channels, cut workload for them, and provide the most efficient price discovery system that ever existed in the e-commerce world, because you can run the synchronized auctions at multiple places at the same time, getting a competition. For the marketplaces, we provide exposure to the new inventory that would never imagine they would display on their side. And plus, we incentivize from commission from the sale, real money, not like fancy candy tokens within the network, real money that moves into the network. And the third-party service providers, the selling channels, cross-border, on a global level, when a US inspector can sell directly through our network and the local Lithuanian marketplace, the service of inspection in US. And for the final buyer, this blockchain, with all the layers of participants, with all the service layers on top, final buyer, for the final buyer, it creates just 2 things: wider choice and the entire service accessible through a localized shopping experience. That's what blockchains are for. And we're selling the entire thing, building, without even mentioning to any of the businesses that are connected to them the first word, blockchain. No, that's something we mentioned at the 3rd or 4th in the row, because this is the true value that will drive every startup and technology into real world. Thank you.
We have space for one question, if anyone wonders still after this awesome presentation. If not, then, oh, here we go.
Did you have to build this on blockchain, or you could have used any different platform or technology?
this question, like, do you really need blockchain for something? Most of the startups will start saying that, yeah, we need blockchain, da, da, da. There is no solution in the world, even Bitcoin, that you can't build on another technology. But then you have to like evaluate the risks. In our case, that I demonstrated, so data duplication and the network of independent participants is something that already exists on a conceptual level. So you have independent marketplaces, you have independent servers where the dealerships are hosting their data, and you have this process of shared auctioning. So everyone needs to exchange with each other. So in a way, peer-to-peer torrent system is the best application for data management on this duplication level. So yes, it should be distributed. This is more efficient in terms of growing. Then we need another layer where someone has to be in the system that says that this was from this marketplace the highest bidder. So that's like a trust source. That's where blockchain is sold, right? The trust issue. You can do the trust issue on a centralized manner where we as the company would be like, okay, this is the winner, this is the deposit player, and etc. But it's non-scalable because then we take away some operational part, infrastructural part from these independent marketplace players. But by using blockchain, you can inbuild the trust of forming the consensus among who the highest bidder was, who was authorized to bid in a completely decentralized peer-to-peer level, and most of it. Why we need blockchain as a company? Because we built the entire infrastructure with such low resources, because on our side, we don't even run a server. We don't have to host a server. We don't have to guarantee security. It cuts costs so much that we can launch this global scale thing without even having a cloud server launch on our balance of a company. That's the benefits of blockchain. And that's the things that should be highlighted while using this technology. I think I've answered your question.
Amazing, amazing. A great answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't leave the stage.
Oh, yeah.
We'll move to the panel discussion for discussing the challenges implementing blockchain technologies. And besides Lasha Antadze here, I invite Gorazd Otsvirk